recording?
Mm-hmm.
Is it clear?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You don't have to hold it, but will it stay in place?
No.
All right, well, it's not really long. Bismillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa min tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. I'd like to welcome you all to our course, our spiritual discourses class, which we've entitled Friday Night Lights. This is a continuous course that we have from before, and inshallah, we're just reviving it. The purpose of this class is to explore spiritual discourses to help us to really kind of soothe the soul, inshallah. This is a big science in Islam, and inshallah, we want to get some benefit out of it. So this class is going to be ongoing. It's going to be from different classes that I have with my teachers and different courses that I've taken with some institutes, inshallah. So I get my notes together and put it in the class form for you all, inshallah. So this class will not be like my other classes where you could take notes. Of course, you're free to take notes, but this won't be like a quiz class. But this is stuff about nourishment for the soul, inshallah, because, I'm convinced that that's what we need. So the title of this course is called The Fundamentals of Tasawwuf. So I'm going to say this word right out the way, the fundamentals of Tasawwuf. Tasawwuf is another word for Sufism. So if you already spooked by that, you can go ahead and click off and you can warn against me. It don't matter. This science is very important. So if you spooked by that word, there's no need to continue. I ain't even going to waste your time. But I can guarantee you that through this course, regardless of the name that you call it, we're going to have some spiritual enlightenment. So that's what the purpose of this course is called Friday Night Lights. That on this Friday nights when we can be doing a whole bunch of things, and in the dunya life, we've done a whole bunch of things. We've taken some time out from this worldly life and to get in tune with our soul, inshallah. So this Friday Night Lights spiritual discourse for this about 5 or 6 weeks is going to be entitled The Fundamentals of Tasawwuf. So we're going to be discovering what this is. All right. So the first thing that we're going to cover is what is Tasawwuf, because unfortunately, the science gets a bad rap from a lot of people. Because as soon as you say Tasawwuf, people say bid'ah. They go as far as to say shirk. They go as far to say haram. It has no foundation in Islam, and all of these things are false. And it's a lot of misinformation about the science of Tasawwuf. And Tasawwuf is actually that. It is technically called the study of the science of the soul and growing the soul. The study of the science of the soul. The study of the science of the soul. All right? And this word Tasawwuf or the science of Tasawwuf has many different names. People call it Tazkiyatun Nafs, purification of the soul. They call it Zuhd, or abstinence from the worldly life. They have a few names for it, and no matter what name you call it, it's all about nourishing the soul. And nourishing the soul is something very important, because this science of Tasawwuf is just like other sciences, but it's not a science that, the other science, like the science of tafsir, the science of hadith, the science of ulum al-Quran, the science of usul al-fiqh, all of these sciences that you can go to a book and that you can study and you can extract things. But this science of Tasawwuf is something that it has to be experienced. You just can't go and study. Like if you go to any library, if you want to know about the tafsir of an ayat, they have volumes of books that the scholars have written. If you want to know about the science of hadith, there's volumes of books that the scholars have written. If you want to know about the foundations of fiqh, the foundations of the Arabic language, there's volumes of books that the ulama have written. But when you're talking about the science of Tasawwuf, the science of ihsan, the science of Tazkiyatun Nafs, the science of Zuhd, there are not a lot of books written, because the people who learned this science, they learned it with a live teacher. So this is something you have to experience with somebody. And I forgot the term ihsan. We're familiar with the term ihsan. Ihsan means to do something well. And we know in the hadith of Jibril, when Angel Jibril alayhi salam came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, he asked him, what is Islam and what is Iman? And then he asked him, what was ihsan? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, to worship Allah as though you see him. To worship Allah as though you see him. And although you cannot see him, then for surety he sees you. So that is very profound. Because imagine if we actually worship Allah as if we saw Him. We would do everything right. We wouldn't commit any sins, and we would be very careful. We would be even more careful about what we do and what we say. So you have to imagine that as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, but of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere by His knowledge, but He's not physically there with us. But we have to imagine that His presence is with us all the time, so that helps us to develop taqwa. So this science is the only science that it has to be experienced. And you won't find a lot of books on it, but you'll find people who write about their experiences with their spiritual masters. Even people who go overseas, they study hadith, they memorize the Quran, and they memorize books of fiqh, whatever science that they're learning from the sciences. And what you'll find where they give you the fruits in their lessons is when the experiences that they had with their teachers, what they learned from their teachers, their mannerism. You can ask any student of knowledge, a scholar or imam, what was the fruit of their study, and they'll tell you that it was the experience that they had in being with their teachers and walking with them and eating with them and saw how they dealt with people. So this is what Tasawwuf is. It is the science of studying the soul and how to nourish the soul. Now, how important it is to nourish the soul. How important is it? If you think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in the Quran, when He said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ, and they ask you about the soul. He told him to say, Cool, الروح من أمر ربي وما أوتيتم من شيء وما أوتيتم من العلم إلا قليل. He said, and what you have been given knowledge of it is only a little. So this is a very profound ayat about the soul, because think about the soul with respect to the body. And some of the scholars have explained this, the scholars who have delved into the science, that your soul and your body, they kind of interact, they come together. And your body has been given everything that it needs for its healing for things in the earth. If you're looking to heal your body, there are certain minerals that you can take, certain vitamins, certain herbs that you can take, and they have specific healings for every part of your body, right? But what about the soul? The soul needs nourishment, it needs training, it needs exercising, it needs a diet, it needs to be trained and harnessed just like the body, right? And we live in a society that places so much emphasis on the body. Everything is about a training program, a fitness program. You find people, they're infatuated with losing weight and, being in shape. And, when the summertime comes and the seasons change, everybody's trying to get a beach body. People getting older and they become disappointed with their bodies. They're not as good. They don't have a flat stomach. They don't look as good. And we put all this emphasis on the physical, but then the soul needs that same kind of nourishment. And how many of us are really giving our soul the nourishment that it needs? And if the soul we only be given, and this is another amazing thing, everything about the body, we've been given knowledge of it. Anything about your body, we have a science to how to take care of the body. If your knees go out, they have a science for that. If your feet are bad, they have a science for that. If your brain goes, they know how to study the brain. They know how to take it out. They know how to examine it. They know how to replace hearts. They have all of this stuff down to a science. The science of the soul deserves the same kind of attention. And a lot of us, we're not getting it, There are really no doctors that you can go to and they're like, I'm depressed, I mean, they got them, but they don't know how to nourish the soul for the believer. Because just think about how many people who are successful with material items and they're physically fit, and yet you find these people, they're taking depressants, they're sad, they're disappointed, they're never happy, they don't have any contentment, and there's a lot of spiritual ailments that they have that they don't even know how to cure. How many people who thought that if they had material wealth and they had a lot of money and then Allah blessed them with it, then it wasn't what they thought. Then they became enslaved to it. So when we think about this ayat, that we've only been given a little knowledge, but the knowledge of the soul means that if we only been